Hello, my name is Joseph Little. I'm the Programme Chair of the suite of programmes relating to building performance in the School of Architecture, Building and Environment within TU Dublin. We have the MSc in Building Performance is a 3-year programme at the moment, and in year 1 there's a number of CPDs, or continuous professional development courses, also nowadays often being called micro-credential courses, that are offered to industry and are of significant value for those building design professionals that wish to upskill or transform their technical design skills. So I'm going to show you 3 of those now, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how we deliver those, and I think you'll find it interesting. So if you look at this simple image on the page, you can see a QR code that'll bring you to the website, and you'll find lots more information about the courses there. But very simply, we're talking about the CPD certificate, or the micro-credential, in building energy modelling using PHPP. That's the passive house planning package. So it's basically a very significant spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, that is used to manage the technical design of a building to the super low energy passive house standard, which is the world's leading non-regulatory standard for super low energy buildings, whether they're new build or retrofit, whether it's the Enerfit standard, Passive House Classic, Passive House Plus, all the different versions using renewable energies that are now available. We provide, we have a collaborative partnership in 2025 and for a few years now with the Association for Environment Conscious Building in the UK, and we've secured 50 PHI points, Passive House Institute points, for those that upskill in this 6-week CPD certificate course. So I'll show you more about how that's delivered in a moment. That course is taught, in the last few years it's been taught in early November, and as you can see, it costs €840. We give access to the software for several months, and we also give access to all related standards, the manual, the updated manual, it's the updated software at the moment as well, and we give examples of student work, exemplar student work, and we test and assess your knowledge, as I'll show you in a moment. Moving to the second of these modules, it has the same kind of delivery, also in 6 weeks, and it's a CPD certificate in hydrothermal risk assessment. So hydrothermal tells you it's about moisture and heat, how those affect each other, and of course that whole area, it's responsible for about 80% of building failures. So everything to do with rot and corrosion, mold, to do with respiratory disorders, to do with elevated levels of maintenance and decoration, and so on. So it's incredibly important and is often under-regarded. We teach 2 tools. One of those is called BuildDesk U, which is under the standard ISEN ISO 13788, which is the Glaser method, or the old name would be the dew point method, and that's the main risk assessment tool used worldwide. BuildDesk U is just one example of a proprietary tool to that Glaser method, to that standard, but it's also a very, very limited standard, and therefore we teach hydrothermal numerical simulation using the WFI Pro tool as well, and that's under ISEN 15026, which is significantly more advanced and closer to real world conditions. It can be used for parametric assessment, it can be used for building failure analysis, for looking at construction moisture issues, capillary action, historic buildings, solid wall retrofit conditions, green roof build-ups, all sorts of different ways of looking at retrofit and new build and the risks that they may have. So like I said, it's taught in early January each year, and it costs €600. We provide the software for I think it's something like a 4 to 5 month period, and again give access to the standards, etc. So it's really, really good value. The third module is the CPD certificate in thermal bridge calculation. So this is about the non-uniform heat loss that occurs at junctions, and you can therefore also look at FRSI, surface risk of condensation conditions that occur there, and get some notion of where dew point might occur and in that junction. We use an excellent tool called Mold Simulator for that. I should have said, I already mentioned the tools we use in the other softwares. and that module costs €840. I think I said it starts in mid-February each year. So again, it's taught in the same way as the other two modules, which I'll explain to you in a second. So all these modules are available to an international audience. We take EU and UK applications, and the students are taught alongside the main class cohort that are studying the postgraduate certificate in building performance, which is a part-time full year program. The program code is TU412, and those students are taught alongside the CPD students. So it's a single class group, or you could say it's two class cohorts being taught together. And I think that's really useful for everyone, because the different focus and skill sets of the students, I think, enriches the conversations that take place. If I go forward to just look at how that's delivered, we use a mature virtual learning environment called Brightspace, and that allows us to provide lecture content, webinars, technical standards, a discussion board, a whole range, access to recordings, links to the recording, and then access to the recording after the recording has taken place. All these different things in one space, nicely integrated, as you can see on the screen. There's an example of a lecture module that you'd be clicking on, and you can view that in I think you can view that in a range of different ways. You can obviously slow us down, you can speed us up, you can watch this multiple times, and then really ensure that you have a very good understanding of the knowledge being imparted. Whereas if you compare that to a classroom, somebody coughs, somebody mutters or whatever at the wrong time, and maybe you've lost that one nugget of knowledge that you really needed to understand. So it's very, very useful, and even for non-English speakers, to be able to really understand everything that's been said and gain the maximum value from that lecture. There's an example, there's a screen grab of a discussion board where you can set your questions on a range of different subjects relating to the standard, to the knowledge area, to the tool, the simulation tool. You can have students answering other students, which we really encourage, or of course the lecturer answering the students. So there's a really nice engagement and a kind of a rich interface and value to have from it all. And then of course in the webinars we can have live demonstrations taking place. You can see there a simulation from Woofy being shown on the screen. The lecturer is demonstrating the use of a case that's possibly been set out in the outline form that the multiple choice questionnaire that they've been set with maybe a simulation tool. And then you can see the circles on the right hand side indicate the number of people that are in the session listening, and then they can pose their questions and so on. So a really good chance to reflect on their learning. So if we're looking at how students actually engage over those 6 weeks, this hopefully will be kind of a useful way to understand that. So we group the week from a Friday to a Thursday, which is unusual, but that's because Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays and Mondays are often the time, whether it's in personal time or work time, that somebody manages to get to gather a few hours in which they can do their technical upskilling. So we provide from Friday morning, at least notionally, the release of the lecture material each week, about 3 to 3.5 hours of material in this 6-week period of each module. And we provide with that a formative exercise and very often access to a particular version of the model that they're using in the simulation tool that they're learning, etc. And we ask people to engage with that in some time over those 4 days. And they may be able to do everything on the Friday morning, or they may decide, no, Saturday afternoon for me, whatever. By Monday evening they submit the multiple choice the questionnaire or the output from the model, whatever that they're doing, and on the Tuesday evening from 8 o'clock till 9:30 we then meet them online, and there's a live demonstration, question and answers, and a chance to have a good discussion as to, you know, what were the pitfalls, what do you understand, how was my answer wrong, you know, what can I learn from this, etc. So it's a really good chance to deepen the learning. That then is repeated in week 2. And then there's an exam on Thursday of week 2, which reflects on or tests your knowledge for the first 2 weeks. That pattern's repeated in week 3 and 4, with another exam at the end of those 2 weeks, reflecting on what's learned there. And then we're moving on from typically around week 3, we release a brief for a small project, a mini project, and the students have a chance to kind of focus their attention on that from the day the brief was released, if that suits them, or in week 5. They submit a draft submission at the sometime 5 o'clock or so on the Thursday of week 5, and effectively the next day, which is the beginning of week 6 in the way that we've structured this, we have an afternoon online workshop in which we make a selection of projects. We might be able to get through 6 or 10 projects depending on how much has been submitted, and we're drawing from them lessons that are valuable to all the students gathered, whether they're in the CPD cohort or the main class cohort. And we're looking at what's really exciting and really an interesting approach, or maybe where somebody might change their approach, may take a revision or try something different. So that feedback is really, really useful for students who then have a further week to complete their project. They then submit that, whether that's on the following Friday or the Saturday or Sunday, whichever date that we set for the students, and we then give further feedback, written feedback, on the projects, the finalised projects that have been submitted alongside the grade. So the students have grades coming from the 2 multiple choice questionnaire, the little exam elements, and from the final project, but they've had feedback at all times along the way. And this, we're convinced, allows the opportunity for deep, structured learning to really move that student's knowledge forward in a way that can help them to practice in a better way, in a transformed context, to deliver on these areas of skills relating to super low energy buildings, whether new build or retrofit, moisture risk assessment or hygrothermal risk assessment of building elements, and then of course thermal bridge calculation of what happens at those junctions. So there's lots of great feedback from our students. That model has been working for a number of years, since 2017 in fact, and we've learned a thing or two along the way, and we're very proud that we've educated hundreds of building design professionals coming from a wide range of different countries through the CPDs in that time, and we'd love to see you there with us. So use the QR code, and if you need to ask a question or two, my email address is joseph.little@tudublin.ie, and the manager of the programme, I'm the programme chair, the manager is kirk.mccormack@tudublin.ie, and McCormack is MCCORMACK, so kirk.mccormack@tudublin.ie. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you.